Americká mírová aktivistka a spisovatelka Cathy Kellyová se v dokumentu zveřejněném televizní stanicí CGTN podělila o své postřehy a zdůraznila, že lidé budou odhodlanější zastavit války, jakmile pochopí jejich závažné důsledky.
Frustrated with the devastation wrought by US military campaigns overseas. She has traveled to Iraq 26 times, including during both the First Gulf War and the Iraq War.
There was a time when I was quite young, and one of our teachers showed us a film called Night and Fog. Filmmakers had gone into concentration camps, into the places where so many millions of Jewish people and others had been persecuted, starved, tortured, killed, and the camps had been emptied. The French filmmakers filmed what remained, and they showed the blankets that had been made out of human hair taken from the corpses. They showed lampshades that had been made out of human skin. And I said to myself, I never want to be somebody who is on the sidelines, who watches some terrible evil unfold and doesn't try to put a stop to it.
Cathy Kelly is an American peace activist and writer. As a child, she witnessed the rebuilding of peace following World War II, but later grew frustrated.
We went over to Iraq because we wanted to oppose the United States economic sanctions as a humanitarian relief group. In one case that I recall, it was such a painful story. A little infant was lying on a mat, and she had suffered more or less like a cardiac arrest. She couldn't continue breathing, and they had an oxygen tank. He gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but the tube that they had, the only plastic tubing that they had, because they couldn't get the medical supplies that the hospitals needed, was about the size of a pencil. But this little baby's nostril was the size of the point of a pencil. The tube was too big. And so the doctor had to say to the mother, I'm sorry, your child, she cannot live. We have not the oxygen, we have not the tube. And so he walked away, and that mother, she had pulled me down onto the bed next to her. And I remember my shoulder was damp. She was crying so hard because her child could not live. And I knew I would eventually go back to the United States and a life of safety and security. But that doesn't lessen my responsibility to try to understand what the consequences are for people who are displaced by war. This is a family whose mother, Karima, was a widow, and Karima was away from the house much of the time. Her oldest daughter, Fatima, took care of these younger children, and they were just a delight to be with. When I was in Afghanistan, young girls would literally take me by the hand and lead me up a mountainside. And closer to the higher portions of that mountain, and most of the people living there were either widows or single mothers, and they really didn't have a way to feed their children. Sometimes they sent their children down into the marketplace to pick up scraps from the market. Because they were so high up, there was no water, and so they'd have to get up early in the morning and go down the mountainside and fetch the water and haul it up the mountainside. I saw parents who would, flinch when they heard a bomb explode, but then kind of put on a poker face, so we say, when people are playing cards and they don't want to let somebody know what they've got. You could see them trying to make sure that they didn't frighten the children. I think that when we begin to understand what happens when people are displaced by wars, it helps us feel more fuel, in a sense, for trying to oppose the machinery of war, trying to oppose the likelihood of going into a new war.